From his days in a motorcycle gang to becoming the star of one of the most famous reality TV shows, Dwayne "Dog" Chapman has lived a life that could rival any action movie full of danger, heartbreak, and controversy. His journey has been anything but ordinary, but what brought the man who seemed unstoppable to the verge of losing everything behind the signature sunglasses and bounty hunting fame is a story full of unexpected turns, untold secrets, and a path no one could have predicted. So what actually happened to Dog the Bounty Hunter Stay? Dwayne "Dog" Chapman, the well-known bounty hunter, was born in Denver, Colorado, into a working-class family. His father, a Navy welder who later became a bail bondsman, was strict and frequently abusive, and his mother, a Sunday school teacher, attempted to instill strong values in her children. Looking back, Dwayne initially described his childhood as fairly normal, but later realized how difficult it had been. His father had a temper and frequently hit him, something Dwayne thought was normal at the time. He even talked about a paddle his father used that left him hurt and bruised. His father, who was known as Flash because of his boxing prowess, taught him how to fight at a young age, thinking it would toughen him up. But all Dwayne wanted was his father's love and approval. However, at the age of 16, Dwayne made the rebellious decision to leave home and join a motorcycle gang called the Devil's Disciples, which was a far cry from his religious upbringing with a preacher mother and weekly church attendance. In the 1970s, Dog the Bounty Hunter met his first wife, LaFonda Sue Darnell, while living in Denver. Their relationship quickly blossomed, and after a few years of dating, they were married in 1972. He always stood up for his beliefs, even getting into a fight with someone who insulted Jesus. This incident earned him the nickname Dog, which one of the bikers claimed was God spelled backward. From that point on, he embraced the name and the identity that came with it. Their journey together took them to many places before they finally settled in Pampa, Texas, where Leonda was originally from. The couple had two sons, Dwayne Lee Chapman II and Leland Chapman. But as their family grew, their marriage began to deteriorate. In 1976, Chapman got involved in a drug deal that went horribly wrong. While he was waiting in the car, one of his friends got into a fight with Oliver, the dealer, and tragically shot him despite being outside when the crime was committed. Texas law did not release him from responsibility because Chapman failed to report the crime. He was charged with murder and sentenced to 5 years in prison. But his 18-month sentence was the beginning of a new chapter in his life. During his time there, he worked as a barber for the guards and even saved the life of an inmate who was trying to escape, and the guards were about to use lethal force. This act of bravery earned him respect and a recommendation from one of the guards that would shape his future as a bounty hunter. Following his early release, Chapman faced a mountain of child support debt. Desperate to find a way to make quick money, he turned to bounty hunting, a career path that, surprisingly, even the judge in his case had encouraged. The judge saw something in Chapman's demeanor during his incarceration and believed he had the grit and resourcefulness for the job. It felt like a fresh start. But for Leonda, the weight of their situation became too great to when she filed for divorce in 1977. Their paths permanently changed. Chapman was searching for a new partner after his divorce, and he wrote in his book that he met Teal at a biker party in Colorado that year. They really clicked, and he claimed that they left the party together that night. When he offered to drive her home, she told him she was only 17 years old to avoid going back to jail. He married her the very next day, and Chapman acknowledged that they hardly knew one another and probably wouldn't have gotten married if she hadn't been, despite their imperfect marriage. Chapman and Tegnell had 3 children together. Tragically, their first child, Zebediah, died soon after birth, and they also had 2 sons, Wesley and James. However, the relationship couldn't handle the stress, and they eventually divorced in 1982. Chapman was dealt a harsh blow when he lost custody of his children, but he wasn't one to give up and traveled to Colorado in order to reunite with his other children, Dwayne Lee and Leland. Crossed paths with Lisa Ray Britton. Bold as ever, Chapman told her he wanted to have a child with her and even offered her money to make it happen. Surprisingly, Lisa agreed and left her husband to marry Chapman. Together, they had 3 children, but their marriage wasn't exactly built to last. They got married quickly, and it turned out that they weren't very compatible. Chapman wanted a flashy Hollywood lifestyle, while Lisa preferred a quiet life in the woods. Eventually, their differences tore them, and they divorced while Chapman was still married to Lisa Britton in 1991. His next wife, Tani, entered his life. According to his book, their story started in 1988 when Dog arrested Tani for drug possession. A few years later, he hired her as his secretary, and their working relationship swiftly turned romantic. Tani wanted a serious commitment, but Dog wasn't looking for anything long-term, so after much pressure, he gave in and married her. Their relationship was rocky, and Dog battled substance use once more, acknowledged being unfaithful, and after his mother died, he fell into depression and substance abuse. While still married to Tani, Dog had an affair with Beth Smith, which caused his marriage to fall apart. Although most people know Beth Smith as Dog the bounty hunter's wife and partner, their story began long before they became well known. When they first met in 1988, Beth was actually evading the law. She later revealed that her problems began when she was accused of when she was arrested for stealing 2 lemons from a grocery store while attempting to use a payphone. She stepped out with the lemons in hand. To make things worse, Beth was also carrying an unlicensed weapon and had a number of unpaid traffic tickets that needed to be paid. To get out of jail, she called Dog, a bail bondsman at the time, who sent the paperwork by bus, leaving her in jail for 12 hours. When Beth eventually arrived at his office, she attempted to play cool, but Dog saw right through her. Completely enamored and resolved to win him over, Dog and Beth's chemistry was evident. But despite his previous relationships, his struggles with addiction, and his marriages, they stayed in touch. By 1997, Dog, his children, and Beth finally moved in together. They later got married and established a prosperous bail bonds company called Dine Bail Bonds. Their major break came in 2003 when they assisted in the capture of Andrew Luster, the heir to Max Factor fortune. Luster, who was wanted for sexually abusing several women. The irony of the situation was that Dog couldn't legally arrest anyone in the U.S. due to his criminal record. A representative from the Florida Bail Bondsman Association even stated that his actions could technically be considered kidnapping despite the legal challenges. Dog found him in Mexico, but bounty hunting is illegal there, so he was arrested at the border and had to pay bail to get himself and his crew out of jail. The capture thrust Dog into the spotlight in 2004, launched on A&E, and viewers were captivated for almost 10 years as they watched Dog hunt fugitives and deal with high-stakes situations. His trademark look was his wild mullet, which was always present, and his larger-than-life personality. Dog later revealed that his appearance was carefully planned to scare fugitives. Beth frequently stressed that their show wasn't just about chasing criminals at its core. It was about helping people and giving them second chances. The show became a huge hit, but it was Dog's fiery personality that made him a star. Additionally, he caused trouble in 2007 when a private phone conversation between him and his son was leaked. During the conversation, Dog used a racial slur and expressed concern that it could ruin his career if made public. The National Enquirer published the recording, and Swift Andy responded by suspending the show and starting an investigation. Dog also apologized publicly for the hurt his words caused and promised to do better. He appeared on CNN to apologize and make a commitment to never use the slur again. Dog the Bounty Hunter became a cultural phenomenon. The family's motivational speeches before every mission were iconic, and the show remained a fan favorite for 8 years, until Andy made the shocking decision to cancel it despite its continued popularity, leaving fans stunned. His sincerity persuaded the network, and the show eventually returned to air with his long blonde hair, signature sunglasses, and Beth's amazing ability to chase down fugitives in high heels. After a brief hiatus from television, Dog and Beth returned, but this time the focus was on something much more personal and devastating. In 2017, Beth was diagnosed with throat cancer. She broke the news to fans in a new chapter with their show Dog and Beth on the Hunt on CMT. However, the journey wasn't without difficulties. The bail bond industry, which they were so passionate about, faced significant obstacles that forced the family to put filming on hold while they fought to protect the profession they loved. Following surgery to remove a tumor, Beth wrote a heartfelt letter promising to fight with everything she had. By November, she was declared cancer-free, giving them hope that the worst was over. But their relief was tragically short-lived because only a year later, Beth had another surgery and was told that the cancer had returned, this time spreading to her lungs. Despite the grim prognosis, Beth refused to give up, and by late 2018, she described the battle as just another challenge in her life. He was determined to keep moving forward after Beth passed away on June 26, 2019, and Dwayne shared the news that she had gone to heaven and was loved deeply in her last moments. Beth didn't want to look at him, which Dog thought was because she knew he was losing hope and she needed him to stay strong. He tried to keep her spirits up, constantly telling her that she would be okay, even though he secretly wondered why people say that when they know the truth. In the end, Beth told Dog to, in an emotional interview with Dr. Oz, Dog the Bounty Hunter opened up about the darkest moment of his grief, sharing how he couldn't stop crying and even considered taking a handful of pills. Thankfully, he didn't go through with it, but it showed how deeply he was struggling on top of his emotional pain. He struggled to accept it, unable to imagine life without her, but before he could respond, she took her final breath. He told the Toronto Star that his finances had been depleted by Beth's medical bills and the expense of providing for their large family. He was even in danger of losing his house because he was unable to make his mortgage payments. It was a difficult time, and losing Beth only made things more difficult. A few months after her death, his dog began to have chest pains and breathing difficulties. At first, he dismissed it, believing it to be heartbreak, but his heart was truly broken. He told Fox 31 Denver that he thought it was all in his head, but when the symptoms persisted, he ultimately made the decision to seek medical attention. Like many men his age, Dog had a propensity to overlook health issues, and without Beth, he wasn't putting his health first. Fortunately, Dr. Oz intervened and persuaded him to have some critical tests done, even documenting the process on his show to emphasize how important it was to take these health issues seriously. Dog acknowledged that he had smoked heavily since he was 12 years old, despite smoking 3.5 packs a day for more than 40 years. Doctors discovered that his heart was surprisingly healthy. However, he had a serious problem. a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in his lungs. Dr. Oz explained how dangerous this condition could be because it blocks blood flow to the lungs, creating a life-threatening situation. Determining to change things, the dog started using nicotine patches and committed to therapy to address the emotional struggles that were causing him to smoke. After overcoming these obstacles, Dog the Bounty Hunter landed a new show called Dogs Most Wanted on WGN. Dog the Bounty Hunter has made a name for himself by apprehending some of the nation's most dangerous criminals. One of his high-profile captures was Leonard Trudeau Jr., a man with a lengthy criminal history that included armed robbery and assaulting a police officer. Trudeau had been on the run, but Dog and his team were determined to find him. The hunt wasn't easy. Over the course of 12 intense days, they followed Trudeau across southern Colorado, determined not to let him get away. As the team closed in, they sent out a confident message that made it clear Trudeau's time was up. And they weren't wrong when they finally caught him. The arrest didn't come quietly. There was a brawl, and Trudeau ended up with a bloody head while shouting insults like dog. His team stood firm, jokingly referring to themselves as God's gangsters. People consider it a major victory because the dramatic events were captured in a Dogs Most Wanted episode that was shot just months after Beth's death, making it an emotional chapter for the team. However, after Beth's death, 7 months later, there were rumors that he was seeing a family friend named Moon Angel. This caused tension, with his daughter Lissa taking to social media to call Angel a homewrecker and accuse him of being fake. In the midst of this, Dog talked about how Angel had supported him during a difficult time. After Beth's death, Dog publicly declared he wouldn't remarry, but life had other plans. He eventually met Francie Fr., a woman who liked dogs and was grieving for their loss. However, despite the confusion, things took an even more unexpected turn when, during an emotional appearance on The Dr. Oz Show, Dog proposed to Angel on live television. Angel was visibly shocked and insisted they were just friends. Dog later clarified that the proposal wasn't serious and was more of a test to gauge people's reactions. Dog had initially approached Francie to hire him for some housework after her husband died of cancer. Instead, they connected over their similar loss experiences and found solace in one another. Dog later revealed how they frequently discussed Beth and how Francie's late husband helped them deal with their grief. Dog and Francie began dating in March 2020, and by May he had already proposed. Many people weren't pleased with how quickly he seemed to move on from Beth, but Dog clarified that if Beth had been alive, she would have wanted him to find happiness. In September 2021, Dwayne and Francie got married and started posting pictures and videos of their adventures on social media. Shortly after Dog released Hunter's Creed, a film that reflected on his life, he also signed a deal with the streaming service Unleashed for a new show called Dog Unleashed, in which he continued to hunt down dangerous criminals. However, controversy erupted in 2021 when Michael Donovan, the president dog, was sued by Unleashed for allegedly using a taser illegally and making racist and homophobic remarks on set. The lawsuit claimed that Dog used the taser to intimidate someone while filming the canceled show, which would be illegal due to his prior murder conviction. Dog claimed the taser was only a prop, but the lawsuit stated otherwise. Dog's attorneys dismissed the accusations as retaliation from Donovan after their business deal fell apart, promising to sue Donovan for defamation. After that, the dog's legal issues went beyond the news. By 2022, he owed $1.6 million in taxes from Colorado and Hawaii, which forced him to make tough financial decisions. He sold the Colorado mansion he and Beth had bought for $750,000 13 years prior. And with the real estate market booming, he made about $11 from the sale, nearly doubling its original price. Dog the Bounty Hunter may not be on television as much these days, but he still manages to make headlines. Recently, he made a public appearance with a televangelist and went on a tirade against transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. His remarks, which included misgendering Mulvaney and making threats, sparked backlash and reignited debate over his outspoken personality. In the midst of this controversy, Dog has embraced a new chapter in his life as a Christian influencer. Even writing in the book 9 Lives and Counting, he talks about how he came to believe that his mission has changed from bounty hunting to saving souls. He views this new mission as a spiritual calling, but he acknowledges that he hasn't completely abandoned his former self. He calls himself a Christian outlaw who is equally as passionate about pursuing fugitives as he is about assisting others in finding redemption.